අක්කේ අපි ටෙස්ට් 10 එකයි අලුත් වෙනක් කරමුද ආයි?
हाँ हाँ
හරි.
You will hear a number of different recordings,
අක්කේ ඇහෙනව නේද?
and you will have to answer question
එහෙනවා
1.
හරි හරි.
You will hear 2 conversations about registering for a student ID card. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1.
Hi, excuse me. Do you know where I have to go to register for a student ID card? I'm a part-time student, so I'm not sure if I can register here in the admin building or not.
Right. There is a special office for part-time students.
Okay, that's what I thought. Do you know where the office for part-time students is?
It's in the sports complex, but as far as I know, that area is being used for student orientations this week, so it's probably very busy. If I were you,
මල්ලි ඇහෙන්නේ නෑනේ
ඇහෙන්නේ නැතුව කියන්නේ ඒක දැන් පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න බෑ.
ඔව්
දැන් බෑ.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check. Section 1. You will hear 2 conversations about registering for a student ID card. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Hi, excuse me. Do you know where I have to go to register for a student ID card? I'm a part-time student, so I'm not sure if I can register here in the admin building or not.
right, there is a special office for part-time students.
Okay, that's what I thought. Do you know where the office for part-time students is?
It's in the sports complex, but as far as I know, that area is being used for student orientations this week, so it's probably very busy. If I were you, I'd go as early as you can before it gets crowded.
All right. Do you know the faster way to get there?
Are you travelling by bus or car?
Actually, I was planning to walk there. I've got my bike with me, and I'm not sure if I can take it on the bus.
You can take your bike on the bus as long as there's space. Bus would be quicker.
Right, I'll try that then.
Okay, so from here, you need to walk round the corner to the geography building, and you'll see a bus stop just opposite, in front of the Red Flag Cafe.
Red Flag Cafe?
Yeah, and wait there for bus 34. It will take you to New Street. Get off when you see the School of Law. That's the big red building with the steps in front of it. And from there, it's only a short walk to the sports complex. The registration office for part-time students is on the top floor, but you have to make an appointment at the reception just next to the main entrance on the ground floor.
Okay, fine, I'll do that. How many stops is it to the geography building?
I'm not sure. It's a 10-minute ride. Just ask the driver to tell you when you get to the geography building.
Okay, thanks. So, bus 34 to the geography building, then walk to the sports complex.
Yeah, and the office is right at the top.
Right. I'll head there now. Thanks for your help. Bye.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Yes, I want to register for a student ID card.
Certainly. Are you a part-time student?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's fine. Can I just take some details? Your name?
Matt. That's spelt with a double T. Jones.
Matt Jones. Is that Jones?
Yes, that's right.
What's your address?
Flat 5, 12 Green Street.
Green Street. Okay. And which town is that?
That's in Newbury. Newby.
Postcode?
Sorry?
Which postcode is Newby in?
Oh, it's, let me think. HR4. Oh, no, sorry, I mean HR5 4JD.
HR4 4JD.
No, it's HR5.
Ah, okay. Got it. And what's your date of birth?
14th of October 1998.
And your phone number, please.
08675 032 435.
Thanks. Now, you need to take this form with your personal details to the cashier's office with your ID and the details of your course.
Right. Where is the cashier?
Just on the next door to this office. Oh, and you'll also need proof that you've paid for your course fees.
Oh, I didn't know that. Will a bank statement be okay?
No, I'm afraid not. You need to bring the receipt for the course fees. You can't get an ID card without it.
Right, I see. Thanks very much. I'll come back another time then.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a tour guide talking to a group of visitors at Edinburgh Castle. First, you will have some time to look at questions 13 to 23. Listen carefully and answer questions 13 to 23.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for arriving on time for our tour this morning. Welcome to Edinburgh Castle. As you know, this is a 1-hour tour, so we will get started straight away with a quick summary of what we are going to look at over the next 60 minutes. First step of the tour will be to cross Portcullis Gate. This gate is the entrance to the castle, and it's 450 years old. You will see that it opens and closes by moving up and down, not back and forth like typical gates. It's made of iron, and it used to protect the castle from attacks. After crossing the gate into the main castle area, we'll take a direct route to the top of Castle Rock, up a huge flight of steps. I think they're around 300. These steps used to be the original entrance to the castle. For those of you who aren't keen on climbing so many steps, there is a gentler but longer alternative route that leads all the way around the castle hill. If you take this route, please follow the red dots on the path to find your way to the top of Castle Rock. Now, once we get to the top of Castle Rock, you will see the visitor centre. This is our meeting point, so if anybody gets lost, please head back there. You can see the visitor centre marked on your maps with a big yellow dot. Also, at the top of Castle Rock, you'll be able to see a huge cannon or gun called Mons Meg. The cannon was given to King James in 1457 and could fire gunstones weighing 150 kilograms for up to 3.2 kilometers. That's spectacular. You will also see magnificent views north across the city, all the way to the sea. On a clear day like today, we should be able to see the famous bridges, many of Edinburgh's historic sites, and, of course, mountains, including Ben Lomond. After admiring the view, we will visit the Crown Room to see the oldest jewels in the British Isles. These jewels are extremely precious and are kept in the dark room to protect them from light. You can also see the iconic Stone of Destiny, which was used to crown kings and queens for many centuries. If you are short of time at this point, I recommend you skip this exhibition and go straight to the clock tower door into the Great Hall. The impressive Great Hall was completed in 1511 and was used by King James IV for huge dinners and parties. You can still see the original roof. Don't forget to look up to see the carvings. There is also a remarkable collection of weapons and armor hanging on the walls. It's well worth spending a few extra minutes looking at the displays. We'll end the tour at the 1 o'clock gun exhibition. As you may already know, the gun is fired every day from the top of the castle at 1 p.m, except on Sundays. This gun has been fired since 1861 as a time signal to ships out at sea. It can be quite a shock if you're not expecting it. It is very loud. So do try to remember that it will be happening at 1 p.m. on the dot. Now, we're coming to the members lounge, so I'll just tell you a little bit about the prices on offer. If you join the castle as a member, it costs £40 a year, or £99 for a family with up to 3 children. It's quite good value because members get free hot drinks, which is rather important when the weather is as cold as it is in Scotland. Now, let's start our tour. Just follow me.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear a discussion between a student and a tutor about cashless payments. First, you will have some time to look at questions 24 to 32. Listen carefully and answer questions 24 to 32.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all ready for Mickey's presentation on cashless payments. Are you ready, Mickey? Over to you.
Yes, I'm ready, thanks.
So what exactly are cashless payments? How do they work? And how much do people actually use them?
Well, it feels like we've been hearing about the cashless economy for a long time now. Many people say that they don't need notes and coins anymore because they can use cards to pay for shopping, tickets, food, etc. Everything you need, really. But recently, mobile payment systems have become available to anyone who uses a smartphone, so we're a lot closer to not needing notes or coins to pay than we used to be. In fact, payments made using mobile phones are expected to reach $721.4 billion worldwide this year, as more and more customers discover how easy it is to pay for things with their smartphones.
And is this a positive trend in general?
Well, like everything, there are advantages and disadvantages for both customers and for society as a whole. Whatever you think of the trend, it's not likely to reverse course anytime soon. We can't turn back the clock. The main advantage is that it's easier. It's easier for retailers, shops, cafes, cinemas, etc., and it's easier for us as consumers.
Tell us more about the advantages.
Well, the most obvious benefit is ease. Most of us already walk around with smartphones in our hands for most of the day. They're more accessible than our wallets, and unlike credit and debit cards, they are quick to use at the checkout line. There's no need to enter a code, and of course no danger that you will forget your code either. Also, it's a very modern way to pay.
And what about benefits to the retailers?
Well, retailers can also benefit from cashless systems because having less physical cash, notes and coins on the premises means having less to lose if there is a robbery.
Right. And what about the disadvantages? What are they?
The main disadvantage is privacy, or lack of it. Cashless payments are easier to track, which raises privacy issues for consumers and security issues for companies that collect payment data. Cybersecurity threats like identity theft and fraud are also a greater concern with cashless transactions.
That's a serious issue. But there's also something that I worry about with cashless payments. There are some people who just won't use them. Older people, for example, or people who don't have bank accounts. I think they will be disadvantaged if there isn't the option to use cash.
You're right. This is another big issue. As society goes cashless, the divide between rich and poor, those who have bank accounts and smartphones, and those who don't become bigger. Those who don't have are unable to participate. There are already many shops that don't take cash at all, and of course, people who don't have a cash card or a smartphone can't use those shops. This situation will only get worse, and it is one of the societal challenges that we have to deal with if we choose to move to a cashless society.
Well, thank you, Mark, for that overview of cashless payments. That was really interesting. Now let's move on to...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear a talk on the topic of chewing gum. First, you will have some time to look at questions 33 to 36. Listen carefully and answer questions 33 to 36.
Hello everyone, and thanks for coming to the lecture today. As we discussed last week, today we will be looking at a case study of how a product is developed and marketed successfully. The product I want to talk about is chewing gum, and we'll take a brief look at the process of invention, promotion, marketing, and competition in creating this very successful product. Now, you may think that chewing gum is a modern invention, but that is not the case. People have been chewing gum in various forms since ancient times. There's evidence that some northern Europeans were chewing tar from the birch tree as many as 9,000 years ago, possibly for enjoyment as well as medicinal purposes such as relieving toothaches. The ancient Mayans also chewed a substance called chicle, which also came from a tree, the sapodilla tree. The Mayans used this gum as a way to quench thirst or fight hunger, which is interesting because chewing gum is often marketed today as a way to help people stop smoking. The Aztecs also used chicle chewing gum and even had rules about its social acceptability. Married women and widows could chew it privately to freshen their breath, while men could chew it in secret to clean their teeth. Again, you will notice the similarities with the way we market gum today. It's generally marketed to young people, unless it is chewed with the aim of freshening breath or improving oral hygiene. In North America, the Indians chewed spruce tree resin, a practice that continued with the European settlers who followed. As before, gum was used to improve the health of teeth.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 37 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 37 to 40.
In the late 1840s, John Curtis developed the first commercial spruce tree gum by boiling resin, then cutting it into strips that were coated in cornstarch to prevent them from sticking together. By the early 1850s, Curtis had constructed the world's first chewing gum factory in Portland, Maine. As it turned out, though, spruce resin was less than ideal for producing gum because it didn't taste great and became brittle when chewed. Curtis and others in the chewing gum business subsequently switched to ingredients such as paraffin wax, which was softer when chewed. The next key development came when an inventor in New York, Thomas Adams, started a company that by the late 1880s was making gum and selling it across the USA. Chicle was imported to the United States from Mexico and Central America and was the main ingredient in chewing gum until manufacturers replaced it with synthetic ingredients by the mid-1900s. In the 20th century, chewing gum made William Wrigley Jr. one of the wealthiest men in America. Wrigley started out as a soap salesman.
එහෙම නැතුව ගියා. මම එහෙම නැතුව ගියානේ.
එහෙම නැතුව ගියා නේද?
ඔව්.
අන්තිම එකද මොකද්ද ඉතුරුනේ? මගේ අන්තිම දෙක විතරයි ඉතුරුනේ.
හෙලෝ
කිය?
අන්තිම දෙකනේ ඉතුරුනේ.
ඔව්. කමන්නේ අපි ඒක තියලා මේ ඔව්.
කොහොමද අනේ?
ඒ බෑනේ ඔක යන්න ඕන නැති ඒ වෙලාව නේ.
විනාඩි තව 5ක් විතර විනාඩි දෙක තුනක්.
පාඩ ඇහෙනවද?
ඔව් මොකද්ද?
ඇහෙනව නේද?
ඇහෙන්නේ නැහැ මල්ලි.
නෑ මං කියන එක ඇහෙනවනේ.
ඔව් ඔයා කියන එක ඇහෙනවා.
අන්තිම එකට මතකයි මට කොමර්ෂල් කියලා.
After moving to Chicago in 1891, he began offering store owners incentives to stock his products, such as free cans of baking powder with every order. When the baking powder proved a bigger hit than the soap, Wrigley sold that instead, and added in free packs of chewing gum as a promotion. In 1893, he launched 2 new gum brands, Juicy Fruit and Wrigley Spearmint. Because the chewing gum field had grown crowded with competitors, Wrigley decided he'd make his products stand out by spending heavily on advertising and direct marketing. In 1915, the Wrigley Company kicked off a campaign in which it sent free samples of its gum to millions of Americans listed in phone books. Another promotion involved sending sticks of gum to US children on their 2nd birthday. Competition also played a role in the development of bubble gum. Frank Fleer, whose company had made chewing gum since around 1885, wanted something different from his rivals and spent years working on a product that could be blown into bubbles. In 1906, he invented a bubble gum he called Blibba Blubber, but it proved to be too sticky. Later, a successful formula for the first commercial bubble gum was found and named
ඇයි ඇයි ආච්චි ඇයි
අංක පොඩක් ඉන්න.
හරි
ආයිත් කියානේ හෙන්නේ තෝ.
හරි වෙනවා ඇති
ඔව් මේ මැප් එකේ මොකක් කරේ නැත්තේ. කොහමගේ ලැප් එකේ මොකක් කියලා. අපි රීලෝඩ් කරමු මේ page.
You will hear a
ආයෙ මොකද
Section
කියන්නේ?
1.
පළමුව දැන් කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි මේ ඒක තියමු පස්සේ බලමු.
හරි මේකට
අපි 12 කරමුද අලුත් එකක්.
මල්ලි ඔමින් විනාඩියක් දෙන්න.
හරි. ඔයා බඩ කියන්න මං දාන්න.
හරි වැඩි චුට්ටක් දෙන්න. දාන්න මල්ලි.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions. Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a female customer and a male staff member who works at an airport travel information center. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, this is the Airport Travel Information Center. How can I help you?
Hi, good morning. I'm flying into New York next week and I need to get from the airport to a town called Hilby. Can you tell me the best way to get there?
Sure. Hilby, did you say? Let's see. That's around 200 kilometers north of here. 214 kilometers to be exact. So that will take you at least 4 or 5 hours by road.
Really? That far?
Yes, I'm afraid so. But you have a number of options to choose from to get you there, and you can always rent a car here in the airport.
I don't really want to do that after a long flight, to be honest. I'm sure I'll be too tired to drive. I'd prefer the public transport options.
Right. In that case, the quickest and most comfortable option is to catch a cab. There are always plenty waiting outside the arrivals hall, so you won't need to book one. They're an expensive option, though.
I'm pretty sure a cab ride for a journey that long will be out of my price range. Is there a bus or a train?
Sure. You can catch an express bus or the airport shuttle, which stops at Hilby.
How much is the bus?
Let's see. That's $15 one way or $27 return.
Great, that's not too expensive. Whereabouts does it stop in Hilby?
It goes direct to the town centre, and it's quite fast too. Just bear in mind that there's only one departure per day, so it depends on what time your flight gets in.
Only one per day? Let me check. My flight is due to arrive at 11:30 a.m.
Ah, that's a shame. The bus leaves at 3:45. You'd have a long wait, nearly 4 hours.
Right, I see. Well, what about the airport shuttle?
That will take you from the airport straight to your destination. It's a door-to-door service, and there's one every 2 hours, so it would suit you better.
Okay, and how much does that cost?
To Hilby that would be $35 one way and $65 return, so it's a bit more expensive than the express.
Okay, that's not too bad if it will drop me right at my hotel.
Fine. You do have to book a seat in advance.
Okay, can I make a booking right now, with you?
Sure.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Okay, I'll just fill out this booking form for you. What date do you want to book your journey for?
It's for the 13th of July. Oh no, wait, that's my departure date. I arrive on the 14th, so book it for then, please.
Okay, so that's the airport shuttle to Hilby. Is it just for one person?
Yes, just for me, please.
Okay. And you said your expected time of arrival was 11:30. So if I book your shuttle for after 12, let's say 12:30, that should leave you plenty of time to collect your bags and get a coffee.
That sounds fine, as long as we land on time.
Well, I'll take your flight details too, so you won't have to worry about that too much. Now what about the fare? What kind of ticket do you want? One way or...
Yes, that will be fine so long as I can book the return trip once I'm there.
Of course. Just do it a couple of days in advance to make sure you get a seat. What's your name, please?
Janice Williams.
Is that spelt with a double L?
Yes, it's Williams.
Got it. And you'll be arriving from the UK? What flight will you be arriving on?
It's British Airways, flight number BA574 from Manchester City Airport.
Great. Now, do you have a hotel booked already? I need to take an address for the bus driver.
I do, yes. It's the Holiday Hotel. I think it's in the town centre. Anyway, the address is 52 Mitchin Road.
Fine. So that's $35 to pay, please. Have you got your credit card number there?
Yes, it's 3323 9477 2929 5557.
Great. That's gone through for you now. So that's everything. Have a good flight, and we'll see you in New York next week.
Thanks for your help. Bye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a holiday representative giving an overview of his company. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Thank you for coming along to the talk this afternoon, despite the rainy weather. I'll start by giving you a bit of background information about Horizon Holidays, as I believe some of you don't know very much about the company. We opened 35 years ago as a small chain of shops selling camping equipment, tents, sleeping bags, etc. Then 30 years ago, we bought a number of small campsites in Wales, and that's when we started running family camping holidays. We grew quite rapidly, and we've been offering holidays in continental Europe for the past 15 years. Customers who book with us have a choice of over 500 sites. In Croatia, we now have over 60 sites that we either own or have exclusive use of. Denmark is where we have the majority of our sites, mostly in the southwest of the country, and we are currently looking into expanding into Greece. We have a number of sites there which we have recently upgraded from 3-star to 5-star resorts. We are confident that our campsites offer fantastic facilities for families of all ages to enjoy. Parents will be pleased to hear that we run kids clubs in all of our campsites, where children will be able to choose from a wide range of activities that will keep them occupied for full or half days. The Kids Club staff is well qualified and very enthusiastic about their jobs. Each day kicks off with a different sporting activity. Tennis or volleyball are firm favourites, followed by an hour of quiet craft time for everyone. This may include junk modelling, painting and many other options. In the afternoon, there's a quiz activity on each day of the week, including information about the local areas and language. Our campsites are truly child-friendly, and with this in mind, we have a quiet time policy in the evenings. Children's activities finish at 8:30 or sometimes at 9, and from 9:30, all holiday makers are asked to be quiet in the areas where there are tents. Now, it's very rare that anything goes wrong on a Horizon holiday, but, just in case, it's always best to be covered by insurance. If you haven't organized your own travel insurance, you'll need to take out the low-cost policy we offer, and we require you to arrange this when you make your holiday reservation with us. There are many advantages to choosing Horizon Holidays and recommending us to others. Regular customers will be kept informed of special offers, and your friends will be able to benefit from 5% off their holiday or book a luxury tent for the price of a standard one. In return, we'll send you a thank you present, which you can choose from a long list of high-quality items. As for our caravans, they are equipped to the highest standard and include gas ovens in the kitchen areas and wide mirrors in the bedrooms, along with many other little luxuries. If you want to explore the local wildlife, we have a small supply of binoculars on every site, and you can ask in advance for a pair to be reserved for you. We'll provide a carry case for you to keep them safe. Inside every caravan there's a wooden box of children's flippers and goggles, and children's snorkeling equipment can also be hired. All caravans have a fridge, of course, and if you're planning a day out, you can ask for a picnic basket, which comes with a little cover to keep your items fresh until you're ready to eat. There are fantastic washing facilities on all the campsites, with washing machines and dryers in the central areas, along with washing powder and fabric softener, which can be bought from a dispenser. All sites have a cafe and or shop for those who would prefer to eat in rather than dine at a local restaurant.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two students and a tutor about different management styles. First, you will have some time to look at questions 21 to 23. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 23.
Right. Now you've both been looking at different management styles, particularly at managing individuals in the workplace. How is your research going, Paul?
Well, I've been reading about why individualism or individual differences are so important to management studies. It's become a relatively important area. Any organization, whether it's a family business or a huge multinational, is basically just a group of people trying to work alongside each other. The important thing is what these individuals contribute to the workplace. Everybody has their own ideas, but they also have their own attitudes and learning experiences. Diversity is a big thing too.
And why do people behave differently from each other at work?
Well, it comes down to a lot of different factors at the end of the day, but personality has a lot to do with it, and so does gender. Men and women tend to behave differently to each other in the workplace.
What are the results of these differences between workers? Did you find any information?
Yes, I did. On the plus side, diversity encourages people to be creative thinkers, and that is considered to be valuable to the company. But on the negative side, these differences between people can also be sources of conflict between workers, and this can lead to serious problems for management.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, You will have some time to look at questions 24 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 24 to 30.
Thanks, Paul. So it seems that the two main points are that managers must identify individual talent and also use it. What about you, Julie? You were finding out about how managers identify talent in their workers. Is this something that is easy for managers to do?
Well, the emphasis in the workplace at the moment is firmly on teamwork and, in my opinion, individual work is neglected. From my point of view, managers should focus on identifying workers who are confident to take the lead and are not afraid of responsibility.
I agree, Julie. But managers seem to find the concept of encouraging individuality too hard.
True, but one of the most important tasks for a manager is to balance the needs of the individual on the one hand and group cooperation on the other. Managers need to be creative in their thinking to avoid stress building up in that kind of situation.
So what kind of employees do you feel managers should be looking for when they hire?
I think HR needs to look for applicants who can think outside the box, who can think for themselves. What they tend to do in reality when hiring is to use those psychological tests to try and find out whether a candidate is a problem solver or will simply do as they are told. I'm not sure that those are the most important qualities.
I see. So you think being a team player is overrated?
No, it's not that. Everyone needs to learn the rules when they join a new organisation. But what's missing is the incentive. Rewards given when employees show the type of behaviour that management values. The important thing is that these are given right at the beginning so that new employees learn immediately what is expected. Of course, the incentive should be something the employee actually wants, but not always money.
Right. And to come back to you, Paul, you mentioned that identifying good performers was vital. What else should managers be looking for?
Well, managers not only have to understand their employees, they also have to recognize the culture of the company. Creativity and individuality may not always be what the company values. In fact, that type of behavior might be considered very inappropriate in some companies.
Indeed.
Managing people isn't easy at all, particularly when there's a change of some kind. It can be tricky if the company has to increase profit, for example. In that situation, the manager might have to give priority to profit over the needs of the individual staff members.
Right. And that's what makes it difficult.
Yes, that's why managers must be able to deal with high stress levels. During a period of change, they should not only be thinking about the stress on their staff, but also think about themselves.
Absolutely. So...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear a talk on the topic of ecotourism. First, you will have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to this first seminar on ecotourism. I want to start off with a brief introduction to the subject and some of the challenges faced in this field. So what is ecotourism? Ecotourism is the practice of small to medium-sized groups of people visiting far-away, fragile and somewhat undisturbed natural areas. It is seen as a low-impact and small-scale alternative to standard tourism. The main purposes of ecotourism include education, fundraising for conservation, or economic and political empowerment of local communities. In theory, ecotourism focuses on socially responsible travel, personal growth, and environmental sustainability. An integral part of ecotourism is the emphasis on the importance of recycling, energy efficiency, and water conservation. Ecotourism also aims to cause direct financial benefits for conservation, create respect for local culture, support human rights, and provide economic opportunities for local communities. Popular ecotourism destinations in the world include South Africa's Kruger National Park, Kenya's Masai Mara Park, and in the United States, the Florida Everglades, Grand Canyon, much of Hawaii, and the Alaskan tundra. Ecotourism has become one of the fastest growing sectors of tourism, growing by 10 to 15% annually worldwide. Unfortunately, a consequence of the booming industry is that many ecotourism sites do not meet the guidelines I just outlined. For example, some countries enjoy a huge ecotourism industry and as a result receive many economic benefits. But the people in the ecotourism areas do not receive those benefits and are forced to leave their homes. In addition, there are gross violations of human rights and creation of environmental hazards in the quest for ecotourism money. Instead of benefiting local populations, the money generated by ecotourism is spent on public relations to dilute the criticism directed at the country's ecotourism. When ecotourism increases, the population of the target location puts pressure on the local environment and requires additional infrastructure such as water treatment plants, sanitation facilities, and lodging. When local communities are unable to meet these infrastructure requirements, there are negative environmental consequences, such as the improper disposal of campsite sewage, which results in the contamination of rivers, where wildlife, livestock, and people draw drinking water. Even further, tourists leave behind garbage in the form of the meals they eat, toilets they flush, and water they drink. All of these are part of a broad regional economic and ecological system that they are reconfiguring with their presence. And of course, the energy required to transport ecotourists can be vast. 10,000 kilometers of plane travel consumes about 700 liters of fuel per person. When inside the fragile ecotourism location, even taking pictures and leaving footprints can be damaging. Trails contribute to soil erosion, impaction, and plant damage. Wildlife viewing can scare away animals and disrupt their feeding and nesting habits, or even acclimate them to the presence of people. So as you can see, the concept of ecotourism is not as simple as it sounds. Now,
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.
අක්කේ මම මගේ ටික දාන්නද මේකේ? ටිකයි හැබැයි
හා මල්ලි හා
අක්කේ මේක හරියද මන් දාපු මෙන්න මේක PA 574 කිව්වේ
කීවෙනි එකද
හලෝ
එයා හැබැයි? ඔව්.
නම වෙන එක
9වෙනි එක මට ඇහුන්නේ නෑ මල්ලි. අරක නම් අන්න 14 නෑ 9වෙනි එක හරි PA හරි ඒක තමයි මම දැක්කේ PA 570 මම වෙන එකක් දිහා බලලා තිබ්බා. හරි ඒක තමයි මටත් අරක 94යි 77යි 29යි ආයි 29යි 5 3යි 7ක්. හරිනේ?
හරි ඒකද හරි
ඔව්. ඔයා අනිත් ටික දාන්න හොඳේ. හරි.
හරි
මම
අක්කේ ඒකේ 3.5
ඕනේ.
ඔව් අලුතෙන් පටන් ගත්ත එකෙන් මදි කියන්නේ ගොඩක්
ඔව්. බලමු මම මේ. අපි
අක්ක බලන්න මන්
ගන්නවනේ.
දාන්නද
ඔව් හා.
ඔව් මන් දාන්න
හරි.
3.5 කියන්නේ කීයක් හරියන්න ඕනද දන්නේ නැහැ
මම
3.5 කියන්නේ
මේ මගලා
ඉන්න බෑ
තියෙන කොලේ
නෑ මේකේ තියෙනනේ 6යි මේකේ මගේ 6ක් හරි 6යි හයයි පහයි
2.5 නේ. පහට නම් 16ක් හරියන්න ඕන. නේ? 16යි 19 අතරින් පහට හරියන්නේ.
මගේ 14ක් හරි
14 නම්
මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ මෙතන 6යි මේ 6යි ඊට පස්සේ එකේ 5යි ඊට පස්සේ එකේ 1යි
එහෙම
මේ
තියෙනවා.
ඇටිටියුඩ් කියන එකේ ES මේ S අකුර අඩුයි
එස් එක ඇටිටියුඩ්.
එකයි ඊළඟ එකේ දෙකයි 14ක් හරි
14ක් නේ.
14ක් කියන්නේ කීයද ඔය
14 කියනකොට 16 වුණා නම් 5යි.
16 වුණා නම් 5යි නේ 14 කියලා කියෙත් නෑ නේ
නෑ එහෙම නෑ මම. මේකේ
එහෙම
තියෙන්නේ
නේ
මේ 5 ඉඳලා තියෙන්නේ මගේ ළඟ තියෙන එකේ 5
මේ ගාවේ හරි
පළවෙනි එකේ ඉඳලා
මේක
ගමු.
මේ
ඔය
මේක
බල.
හියුමන් වැරදිද පීපල්ද හරි
people හරි කියලා දීලා තියෙනවා.
තේනේ හරි අපි මුලින්ම බලමු
මුලින් ඉඳලා බලමු. කීයක් හරිද බලමු.
හැබැයි ටිකක් මගේ මේ කියන්නේ ලොකු මගේ මේකක් තියෙන 1.5 ඉදී
එහෙමද? කැබ්
ඔව්
ඩ්‍රයිව්
1
හරි. කැබ් ඩ්‍රයිව් හරි අනිත් එක මොකද දෙවෙනි එක ටවුන් සෙන්ටර් හරි මගේ
මේ
ඊළඟ එක තුන
මේ
නෑ.
කැබ් ඩ්‍රයිව් නෙමෙයි යකේ කැබ් විතරයි අයියෝ
මම කැබ් ඩ්‍රයිව් නෙවෙයි කැබ් රයිඩ් ලියා. එහෙම තියෙන්නේ.
කැබ් විතරක් නම් ඒත් හරි
කැබ් නේ. නැත්නම් අර
කැච්ච
අපිට
කැබ් නම් ඒත්
හරි
අපරාධේ
ඒක වැරදිනේ. ටවුන් සෙන්ටර් හරි CNT හරි. ඊට තුන්වෙනි
මේ
එක මම
බුකින්
ලිව්වේ නෑ.
මේ
ඒක
ඔක්කොම ඇහිලා යන
මේකේ
ඒවා මේකත් එහෙම
ඇහුණා. ඒක මම ලිව්වා
එහෙම
2 hours. ඔය ඊළඟට
මේ
බුකින් නවුනේ. ආනේ මම බුකින් නව් හරි. එහෙම බෑනේ. මම
නෑ
බුකින්
යකේ
නව් කියලා. මේකේ
බුක්
මොකක්ද
අසි
තියෙන්නේ බුක්
අසි
මම මට ඇහුනේ බුකින් කතාවත්
මට
බුකින් නව්
බුකින්
කියලා
තමයි
වගේ මට.
මටත්
ඔව්.
බුකින් ඇහුනේ මං ඒක නීට් බුකින් කියලා දැම්මේ
ඒක
මේ දෙකම නූලෙන් ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන අපරාධේ
තමයි.
ඒක තමයි මේක නම් ටිකක් හරි නේ
ඒක හරි මගේ
මේකේ P නෙවෙයි B අයියෝ
මොකා බීද තියන්නේ එහෙනම් මම එතර P ඇහුනේ අපිට ඇහුනේ විදිහේ මම
මටත්
එතන
ඇහුනේ P
හරි
ඔව්
මටත් P PA 574 ඒක B නේ ඊට
අපරාධේ
පස්සේ
තුනක් හරි
අරක
නන්නේ
හරිය 94යි 77යි 29යි
හරි ඒක හරි
24 හරි ඒක අපෝ හරි
අපරාධේ
ඊළඟට කියන්න බලන්න
මේක 30 years හරි
ඒක 11
ඩෙන්මාර්ක් ඒකත් හරි
12
මේක මේ මට ඇහුණ ටෙනිස් කියනවා
ඒකේ
මේක ටෙනිස්
ටෙනිස්
කොයිස් දෙන්නේ
නෙමෙයි ඒ කියන අන්තිමට කියනවා දවස් එවරි ඩේ නේ එතකොට කියනවා ක්විස් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් තමයි එවරි ටයිම් කියන්නේ එම තියෙන එවරි ඩේ තියෙන්නේ කියන එක කියවෙනවා අර කියන මුලින් ටෙනිස් එක කතාවත් කියනවා මේ
this is just painting many other in afternoon there are quiz activity on each day within each day
අන්න හරි ඊස්ටේ අන්න ඒක
each day
කියවෙනවා ඉතින් මම ඒක මම ටෙනිස් වලට තියලාගෙන ඉඳලා තමයි අරක දැම්මේ ඒ වෙලේ ඊට පස්සේ ඒ හරි 14 9:30 හරි
මේක 9 නෙමෙයිද
නෑ 9 නෙමෙයිනේ ඊට පස්සේ ඒක නම් කියලා බලන්නකො එතන ආයේ ඒ උත්තරේ තියෙන තැන මේකේ පෙන්නන්නේ
මේ 14ට මම දාලා තින්නේ 9 ඒ නේද ඒ මම දාලා තින්නේ උත්තරේ 14
එහෙමද
මම මාෂීට් එක වැරදිද දැම්මත් දන්නේ ඒක තමයි
එහෙනම් එහෙම වෙන්නේ නැති කරලා ඇත්තේ
ඔව් මම පොතේ දාලා තින්නේ 14ට ඒ කියලා
එහෙනම් ඔයා ඒකට ලියන්නේ නැති වෙන එකක් උතන 9 දී වෙන්නේ නැති සමහරට
ඔව් 15 B
ලියලානේ ඔයාලා හරිනේ ඒක නැද්ද
නෑ මගේ ඒක වැරදි ඒක වැරදි හරිනම් මෙන්න මෙහෙම හරිනම් මෙහෙම කොළ පාට වෙනවා
කොළ පාට වෙනවා හරි හරි ඊට පස්සේ 15ට මම B 15ට A එන්නේ නේ
15ට A එන්නේ නේ
16ටත් A එන්නේ ඒකත් වැරදි
16ටත්
සීනිය
මේ දෙකම නම් කනවා දෙන්නේ හතරම
මමත් එහෙම ඒ කියන්නේ මට ඒක අර හරියත් එක්ක එද්දියම මමත් ඔය දැම්ම කනාවේ පළවෙනි එක හරි දෙවෙනි එකත් හරි. ඊළඟට සීත් හරි. ඊළඟට දිවාගේ හතරම කනා හරි. ඒක එක දෙයක්වත් එහෙම දැනග හැබැයි මේ පික්නික් බාස්කට් ඒක නම් ඇහුණා.
පික්නික් මම මේ වොෂින් පවුඩර් එක ඇහුණා. ඒ වුණාට ඒක මම වැරදි එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා.
වොෂින් පවුඩර් ඇහුණා මම අරියුන රත්න වචන ලොකුවට තේරුන්නේ නැහැ. මම නිකන් හිතලා වගේ දැන් මේ හතරම දැම්මේ එහෙම අර පික්නික් එක විතරයි ඇහුනේ. ඒ වගේ එක විභාගෙට සෙට් වුණොත් ගොඩ.
හතරයි. මේකෙත් අපරාධ මේ ජෙන්ඩර් මේක ඇටිටියුඩ් කියන මට ඇහුණා ES විතරයි අඩු අපරාධේ.
අපරාධේ මට නම් ඒක ඇහුනේ නැහැ.
ජෙන්ඩර් කියනත් එවන පර්සනැලිටි ඇන් ජෙන්ඩර් කියනත්
ජෙන්ඩර් ඒක හරි මට ජෙන්ඩර් ඇහුණා 23 නෑ මන් ලිව්වේ. මොකද්ද? ක්‍රියේටිව්.
23 ක්‍රියේටිව්. ක්‍රියේටිව් වේ ඔෆ් තින්ක්.
ජෙන්ඩර් නම් ඇහුණා. ඊට පස්සේ 24 වැරදි. 24 ඒ ඉන්නේ.
24 ඒ නේ. මම සීදාගෙන. enjoy timber.
ඒ ටික නම් බලන්න වෙන ඒ ටික මේක එකයි හරි. මල්ලි
ඔව් 27
27 සීනේ
සීනේ
ඔය වැරදි මං 28ට ලිව්වෙත් නෑ කල්චර් නේ
profit staff culture profit
ඒක ස්ටාෆ් වගේ එකක් තමයි එහෙන්නේ අපි එතන නෙමෙයි අල්ලගෙන තියෙන්නේ මම නිකන් ස්ටාෆ් කියලා ලියලා තිබුණා ඒ වැරදිනේ ස්ට්‍රෙස් ඒක වැරදිනේ ස්ට්‍රෙස් නෙන්නේ
ඔව් ස්ට්‍රෙස් එන්නේ ඉම්පැක්ට් හරි ඒක මගෙත් හරි ඊට පස්සේ එක නෑ මම ලිව්වේ නෑ ඒක මට ඒ වෝටර් කියන එක මට ඇහුණා අප්පා ලිව්වේ නෑ
මම ඒක ලියුවා ඒක මම ලියුවා මට ඒක ඇහුණා කන්නේ ඒ වචනෙත් එක්කම කියන්නේ වෝටර්
කන්වර්ෂන් වෝටර් කියලා කියනවා
34 ලිව්වේ නෑ මම ඊළඟ ගන්න ඉකොනොමික් බෙනිෆිට් එක ගන්න ඉකොනොමික් හොම් ප්‍රෝඩ් ඊට පස්සේ 36 නෑ තේ ටික නම් මෙලෝ දෙයක් මම හිතන්නේ හරි නෑ
මගේ ගාබේජ් හරි
ඒක හරි ගාබේජ් මම හිතුවේ amount of එතන ගාණක් කියලා එන්නේ නෑ නේද energy හරි මගේ බලමු 1 2 3 4 5 6යි 7යි 8යි 9යි 11යි 12යි 13යි 15ක් හරි අර කණා හතරත් එක්ක නැත්තම් 11යි හරි කණා හතරම හරි කියන්නේ ඒ හින්දා 15ක් තියෙනවා ඒක එකක් කොහොමත් හරි 12යි එතකොට හරි අරක ඉතින් මගේ වාසනාවට හරි ගිය එකක්
ඔව්
ඒ නැතුවද
මේ වෙලාව නම් වාසනාව නැතුනට කවන්නේ එක්සෑම් වෙලාවොත් නම් හොඳයි
අන්න හරි ඔව් ඒක නම් ඇත්ත
11 කරමුද අපි ආයි අර ඊයේ කරපු දෙවෙනියට කරපේ හෙලෝ හෙලෝ
කියන්න මල්ලි
මේ 11 කරමුද අපි ඊයේ කරපු ඊයේ දෙවෙනියට කරපු අලුත් තැනක් කරමු
ඔව් අලුත් එකක් කරමු මේ එකක් කරමු දැන් වෙලා කීයේ
10යි 45යි
කරමු කවන්න එකක් කර ඔව් මිනිමා අංක දාගෙන එන්න දාගන්නකම්
एक टेस्ट 11 කරන්නේ.
हाँ हाँ
මට විනාඩි 5ක් දෙනවද? අවුලක් නැහැ.
हरी 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 हाँ हाँ
අක්කේ හරි.
හරි.
You will hear a number of different recordings. Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a chef at the new university cafe and two customers who visited the cafe last week. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, Anna. Please come in. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks.
Hi, Jacob. How are you?
Not too bad.
That's great. Now, as I said on the phone yesterday, I'm the chef here at the new university cafe, and I'm collecting feedback on the new menu, the decor, the service, etc. You both visited the cafe last week, and it would be really helpful if you could answer a few questions about your experiences so that we can make any necessary improvements.
Yes, that's fine. I'm happy to help.
Great. So, Anna, let's start with you, if that's all right. You came to the cafe last Saturday at lunchtime. Can you tell me about your impression of the cafe?
Well, I noticed that it was very busy at the weekends. There were so many people when I arrived at 12:30.
Yes, it was very busy that day, wasn't it? Did you order from the lunch menu?
No, I wasn't very hungry, so I ordered from the snack menu.
What did you think of the snack menu?
Well, the choice was good, but actually it took so long for the food to arrive that by the time it came, I was hungry and I wished I had ordered from the lunch menu after all. The service was very slow.
Right. Sorry about that. What did you order?
I had the nachos with cheese.
Good choice.
Well, it was okay, but the waiter forgot the cheese, so I ended up with plain nachos. It wasn't very tasty, to be honest.
Ah, that's a pity. I'm very sorry about that. We'll have to work on staff training.
Yes, I suggest you hire more waiters. There was only one poor waiter serving everybody, so it wasn't really his fault the service was slow.
Oh yes, I remember now. We only had one waiter on duty on Saturday lunchtime. We weren't expecting so many customers.
Apart from that, though, I did enjoy my visit.
I see. Well, we will have to hire more waiters for the busy periods. Thanks, Anna. That was useful feedback.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Jacob, thanks for waiting. Can you remember what you ordered?
Yes. I ordered the fish and chips from the lunch menu.
Right. And did you enjoy your meal?
Well, I was really looking forward to it, but unfortunately there was no more fish by the time I ordered.
Oh dear. Did you find something else you liked on the menu?
Yeah, I had the meat pie. It was really tasty, actually. I enjoyed it. So I didn't really mind about the fish and chips in the end.
Right. That's good to hear. Did you have any dessert?
Yes, I had the chocolate cake.
Great. Was it good?
Yeah. It was, but it was too rich, so I couldn't finish it all.
Okay. And do you have any suggestions for improving the cafe?
Well, it would be nice to offer Wi-Fi access. I just wanted to check my emails, but I couldn't, so I had to rush my meal to get home quickly to my laptop.
Yes. So you'd suggest we offer Wi-Fi access? Well, I'm sure we can offer that in the future. Thank you both for coming in to share your feedback.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 2. Section 2. You will hear a talk show host talking about ponds. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome to today's show. Today we are talking about ponds and the different options available for those of you who are interested in adding a pond to your garden. Ponds are very popular garden features, and people enjoy having a small pool of water like this to relax by. Ponds are really much more than just water. They are soothing, mystical, beautiful, cooling, and can really be a great way to remove our daily stress. Ponds create a beautiful oasis and an eco-friendly environment that attracts all types of wildlife and can be a peaceful home for fish, frogs, birds, and many other animals. Let's take a look at the two different types of ponds, both of which give us water, soothing sounds, and various wildlife attractions. There are two main types of pond. The first type is built above ground, and the second is built below ground. Now, let's look first at above-ground ponds. These are rather small ponds that can be built in many different areas of your property and look very attractive. People often keep fish and plants in these ponds. These ponds use a liner to hold the water. They work as a closed system, similar to a swimming pool, where we have the liner to contain the water and a pump to circulate the water. These small above-ground ponds almost always have a waterfall built into them, and sometimes a stream between the waterfall and the pond area. Now, let's turn to the below-ground ponds. The below-ground ponds are built using earth with high clay content to retain the water. Unlike the above-ground ponds, below-ground ponds do not need a liner. However, these ponds do need a watershed to supply the water to keep the pond full. A good watershed comes from a grassy field or woodland, while a poor watershed would come from planted fields filled with cows or sheep, or from populated areas. They also need a water exit. This is a controlled area for excess water to leave the pond. Generally, an overflow pipe is used to keep the level of the pond water steady during regular rainy weather, but an emergency pipe is also needed for more serious rain, such as major thunderstorms, hurricanes, and even melting snow. Whichever kind of pond you decide on, look at it as an investment for you and for your garden, and also as a way of giving back to nature by creating an ecosystem for plants, insects, and animals. Well, that's all for today. Good luck with your pond, and I hope you enjoy it.
That is the end of Section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 3. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two students who are discussing their school presentations. First, you will have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hi Mason, Is your presentation finished yet?
Hi, Josie. Yeah, I finished it yesterday.
Whoa, you're organised. Good for you. I'm still looking for a suitable topic. What subject did you choose in the end?
Well, I eventually decided on the history of pet ownership.
Seriously? Pet ownership?
Yeah, why?
Sounds interesting.
Actually, it's not as boring as you might think. I'm also studying sociology, and there are lots of links with that too. It's really fascinating. I bet I could tell you lots of things you don't know about owning pets.
I doubt it, but go on. Like what?
Like the fact that animals have played a key role in human life throughout history. People have come to depend on animals for food, clothing, and transportation.
Oh, really? How exciting.
Yep. Plus, some animals were worshipped as part of religions. I bet you didn't know that.
Well, no, I didn't actually. But you're not going to tell me every single thing you've researched about pet ownership just now, are you?
Well, it would be good practice for my presentation if you don't mind listening. I'll listen to yours when you finish it if you like. That way we can both practice.
Oh, fine. Let's do it. So tell me, when did animals first become pets? I thought in the past people just used them for food and clothing.
Well, that's true, but the first animal to make the transition from a wild animal to a kind of pet was the wolf, the common ancestor of all modern-day dogs. This occurred at least 12,000 years ago. People discovered that young wolf cubs that grew up around humans could be trained.
I hope so. I wouldn't like a wolf living in my house.
True, but in the beginning, dogs would have had practical uses. They were kept because they could perform tasks such as hunting, guarding, and herding. Although domesticated dogs were probably treated with respect in primitive societies, there is evidence that at least some were also considered friends or companions of humans as early as 12,000 years ago. A Paleolithic tomb found in northern Israel contained a human buried together with a dog or wolf puppy. The dead person's hand had been arranged so that it rested on the animal's shoulder, as if to show that the man and dog shared a deep bond of affection during life.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 25 to 32.
අක්ක මේ ඉලක්කන්තර දාගන්න. ටෙස්ට් එකක් පේන්න තියෙනවා.
Now listen and answer questions 25 to 32.
Whoa, that is interesting. What about other animals?
Well, around 8,000 years ago, cats became useful to humans who were farming in the so-called Fertile Crescent of the Middle East. Houses, barns, and grain stores would have been full of mice and other small mammals, and cats would have been welcomed by humans because they hunted the mice and kept them out of the grain supplies.
Did everybody keep pets or just farmers?
Actually, in the beginning, it was mostly the ruling or noble classes who kept pets. For example, the ancient Egyptian pharaohs kept companion animals. Many generations of Chinese emperors also kept dogs. And can you believe that these dogs even had their own servants?
Not really.
In Europe, pet ownership didn't really become common until the 19th century. It was a Victorian invention. At this time, pet ownership was thought of as a link with nature, which itself was no longer seen as threatening. It was also seen as a part of man's domination over nature.
Right, so how about modern pet ownership?
Well, nowadays, pets have a number of roles, from ornamental to status symbols, helpers and companions. For example, guide dogs help blind people and hearing dogs help deaf people.
But the most common reason for owning pets must be companionship. That's why most people I know own pets.
Yes, I agree. In recent years, there's been a growing awareness of the very positive effects the relationship between humans and animals can have. For example, having pets is said to improve human health and psychological well-being.
That was interesting after all.
I knew you would enjoy it.
Thank you for all that information, Mason. I'm sure your presentation will go well. You certainly have done plenty of research.
Thanks, Josie.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear a talk on the topic of product placement. First, you will have some time to look at questions 33 to 35. Listen carefully and answer questions 33 to 35.
Good morning. In today's lecture, we will be focusing on a particular aspect of advertising called product placement. Product placement is a form of advertising in which branded goods and services are featured in a video production that targets a large audience. It is also known as embedded marketing or embedded advertising. Now, product placements are typically found in movies, television shows, personal videos, radio, and less commonly, live performances. In exchange for product placement rights, companies may pay a production company or studio in cash, goods, or services. Let's try to break down what product placement actually involves. Product placements are presented in ways that will generate positive feelings towards the advertised brand. The brand is shown, mentioned, or discussed in the TV program or movie, etc., but it's not an explicit advertisement. This method allows the audience to develop a stronger connection with the brand and provides justification for their purchase decision. When a brand appears in a movie, TV show, or other performance, it is most likely because an advertiser paid for that privilege. Some people believe that such advertising is inherently dishonest and deceptive to easily influence children. Advertisers and producers have become more sophisticated in how they use product placements. For example, a product's appearance may be relatively obvious, such as if every car, shoe, or drink featured in a show or movie is made by the same manufacturer. But another subtle tactic is to avoid showing a label or logo, but featuring a product's distinctive color or packaging, such as a curvy glass Coca-Cola bottle.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 36 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 36 to 40.
Product placement creates explicit and implicit advertising effects. For example, viewers of a product placement are more able to name a brand after seeing it used in a TV show. It can also create and encourage positive attitudes towards brands and push viewers to buy their products. Brands placed with attractive characters or settings tend to appeal to people more. I'll give you some examples of product placement. The James Bond movie franchise provides many. While some advertisers change over the years, there are also those that appear in movie after movie. For example, in the franchise's reboot of Casino Royale, car maker Ford paid $14 million to feature James Bond driving one of their models in about 3 minutes of screen time. What about trends in product placement? Well, with the increase in ad blindness, that's the ability to ignore ads, and the spread of streaming, a gap has formed in traditional televised advertising. Filling that gap is a more sophisticated use of product placements. A recent trend is the sale to advertisers of entire storylines. Nowadays, digital editing plays a key role in product placement. Editing technology has been used to introduce or even change product placements in post-production, sometimes going back to change branded items used in the shows long after they were filmed. On the other hand, if an advertiser objects to the brand being featured in a movie, the producers may engage in product displacement when they remove logos digitally. Another option, known as Greeking, sees recognizable labels edited out or taped over.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.
අක්ක මම මේක දානවා වගේ ටික.
हाँ
මේ පාර 3.5යි. ගිය පාර 3යි. කළාට. අක්කේ අපි මේක බලමුද? හෙලෝ.
මන් 3.5 තියෙනවානේ.
ඔව් ඉස්සෙල්ලා 3යි තිබ්බේ. කලින් මුලින් කරා.
එහෙමයි.
මේ
ඒතර
අපි
ඉගෙනෙම නෑ තමයි.
ඔව්
සමහර ඒවා බලන්න. වේට
මේ බලමුද?
බලමු. නෑ.
වේට එහෙම ඇහුණා නේද වේට?
ඔය වැහුණා ඒක තමයි.
මගේ ස්පෙල් වලදීවත් දන්නේ නැහැ බලමු.
ස්නේක් කරි choice ඒවා හොන්නේ දෙවෙනි එක ඇහුනේ නෑ.
වේටර්ස්ගේ මේ ස්පෙල් වැරදි මගේ. අයියෝ.
WAITERS මොකද්ද
T
ලියන්නේ?
E R S ලියලා නැහැ.
වේටර්ස් ඒක හරි.
need more waiter නේද? කියන්නේ waiters.
ගොඩක් ඕන වේටර්ස් කියලා කියනවා S එකක් කියවෙනවා මම ලිව්වා ඒක.
කියනනේ.
මට choice එහෙම ඇහුන්නේ නෑ. fish හරි meat හරි taste ඒ වැහුන්නේ නෑ මට. rich වුණා wifi වැහුණා. ඒකෙන් 10න් 8ක් හරි ඉතින්
waiters තමයි මගේ ලියුවා. දෙවෙනි එකෙන්
දෙවෙනි එක නම් මට ඇහුන්නේ 11. මොකක්ද? stress.
stress. daily
ඒ වලම් තැනත් අර හරියටම
emergency එකෙත් මේ අපරාධේ.
මොකක්ද
ස්පෙල් වැරදි
G ඒ දාලා තියෙන්නේ නේද? ඒක නේද වැරදිලා තියෙන්නේ emergency වයින් අපරාධයක. 18. ඒකේ 2යි මගෙත් හරි. ඒව ඇහෙන්නෙම නෑ අප්පයි. ඇහෙන්නේ නැති ඒවා නම් අනේ මන් දන්නේ.
මේ අපරාධ මේ අපරාධ. ඊළඟ දාන්න. බෝරින් වැරදිද?
බෝරින් හරි.
මං දැන් මට බෝරින් කියලා 21 මම බීරි දැම්මේ.
බෝරින් එකට ඇග්‍රී එකක වෙන්නේ නෑනේ. බලන්න.
හැබැයි 4ක් හරි කියලා මෙතන තියෙනවා. ඒකට මෙතන කොළ පාටලා නෑ අර. මේකයි මෙතන 2යිනේ තියෙන්නේ.
පොඩ්ඩක් හිතන්න ගන්න මාළි කොහොමද තියෙන්නේ? 21ට මොකද්ද තියෙන්නේ? B නේ 22 C 23 වැරදි
24 ඒද? උනේ.
sense of human කියනවා. ඊළඟ 25ට යමු බලන්න.
100 mice.
100 mice කියලා එන්නවනේ.
ඒකද 100 mice කියන්නේ.
100 ලියුවා. එතකොට අපි R එකක් ලියලා මමත් 100 ඒක විතරයි මාත් ලියලා තින්නේ. HUNT R එහෙම නෑ R එකක් නෑ 100 mice කියන්නේ 100.
100 කියන්නේ දඩයන් කියලා.
ඔව් 100
mice කියන්නේ මීයා.
ඔව්
dogs
දැන් අයියේ R එකක් උතන හිතනවනේ 100 ඒක එහෙම එන්නේ
ඔව් මෙතන dogs street dogs දාලම.
dogs street dogs what dogs නිකයි ඔය dogs හැමුණක් දැම්ම 26 27 ලිව්වේ නෑ 28ක් නෑ 29ක් නෑ මේක 29 අනිත් ටික දැක්කෙත් නෑ මම නිකන් ඔය ඊළ අකුරු තුනක් දාන් ගියා 30 32 නෑ ආවෙත් නෑ පල්ලෙහාට යන්න ඕනේ නෑනේ මම ඒක ඔය නිකන් දැන් මොකක්ද කියලා දන්නේ ඉන්නේ 100
නෑ
අකුරක්
නෑ ඒක
දැක්ක
පල්ලෙහාට ගියා ගන්නට මං අක්කට කිව්වා මේ මෙන්න මේව මම මෙහෙ මෙහෙ ඔව් මං අක්කට ඇහුන්නේ නෑ මං හිතුවා මෙන්න මෙහෙම මම මෙන්න මෙහෙම පේන්න තිබ්බා හරිද
ඔව්
මේ 30 31 32 ඔව් 30 31 32 මේ අංක තුන දාගන්න මෙතනින් සිලෙක්ට් කළ මේ ටිකෙන් සිලෙක්ට් කළා දාන්න කියලා මම අක්කට කිව්වා ඇහුන්නේ නෑ මං හිතන්නේ
වැහුන්නේ නෑ මට මම ඊට පස්සේ නිකන් ඕක අර හිටිය හැයකට යද්දි දැක්ක අකුරු තුනක් දාන්න තියෙන්නේ මම ඕන එකක් දාලා දැම්ම 100ක විතර
මේ තුන මං පල්ලෙහාට ඉඳන් මං මේ ඉතින් නැත්නම් ඉඩ නෑනේ අපිට නිකන් මං කිව්වේ අංක තුන දාගෙන මෙතනින් තෝරලා දාන්න කියලා මං කිව්වේ
ඒ වුණාට වගේ ඒකේ දෙකක් හරි කන එතනෝ දැම්මේ BAC දැම්මේ ACD ඒකේ පිළිවෙලක් නැහැනේ ඕන විදිහකට දාත හැකියි ඕකේ. ඒ හින්දා 33ට යම්මාල් පොඩ බා. වාගේ ඒකේ දෙකක් හරිනේ. වාගේ.
ඔව්. 33 ඒ 33 කියන්නේ මන් දැන්
මෙන්න මෙතන තමයි 33 එක. අපි ඒක ඔය ලියලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ඉතින් ඒතකොට අර වමක් හරි එක්ක අතනදී ලියලා නැතුව ඇති ඕකට ඔය උත්තරේ
නෑ නෑ 33 මම B දාලා තියෙන හරි.
B දා එහෙම. 33ට එන්නේ නේ ඒක වැරදි 34 වැරදි 35 හරි.
මම C දාලත් කපලා C දාලා ඒකේ
මම ඒ දාලා තියලා C කරා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ දාගෙන ඉන්දියා අර ඒ වචනේ ඇවිල්ලා පස්සේ අර අන්තිමටම තමයි මේ වචනේ කියන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ මම C කරේ. මේක වැරදි බිල්ඩ් කියලා ලිව්වේ බ්‍රෑන්ඩ්. ඊට පස්සේ
ස්ට්‍රීමින් මේ ස්ට්‍රීමින් කියලා කියන්නේ ස්ක්‍රීන් ටයිම් නෙවෙයි.
ඔයාට ඒක එන ඇහෙන්නේ නැත්තේ මට නම් ඒක හොුනේ. ස්ට්‍රීමින් change name introduce displacement කියලා එකක් ලිව්වම 39 දා හරි මගේ ඒක displace CMET ඒක හරි මගේ label කියලා ලිව්වා ඒක වැරදිනේ ඔව් label කියලා ලිව්වේ label විතරයි ලියලා බෑ ඒවා තියෙන වචන දෙකන්නේ recognizable label ඒක වැරදි හරි නා 8 9 10 11 හොඳයි ඒක දෙවෙනි පාරේ හින්දා 18
දෙවෙනි පාරේ හින්දා
ඒක ඒතකොට පොඩ්ඩක් අවධානයෙන් මෙහුවා
ගහන්නවද
ඕනේ ඒක නම් ඇහුවත් ඉතින් ඒ ටික ඇහෙනවා ඉතින් දැන් අහනකොටම
ඔව්
මේ දැන් මොකෝ කරන්නේ 11 මාරයි
ඔව්
ඔව් 12
අක්කා නැති වෙනත් ඕනේ
ඕ සාරියක් අඳින්නත් ඕන වැඩ තියෙන කොට
එන හවස පුළුවන්ද හවස
ඔව් දැන් මම දෙකට තමයි මේ රැස්වීම තියෙන්නේ මට ආයේ 8ටත් පන්ති අර සර්ගේ පන්ති දාලා ඉන්නද
එහෙම ආයෙනම් ඉතින් අපි හෙට කරමු
ඕ මල්ලි ඉතින් කරන්න ඔයා නිකන් ඉන්නවා
ඔව් මම තනියෙන් කරනවා
මම මේ 8කට අරකේ යන්න වෙනව කොහොමද නැත්තම් චලනිත් ඉඳී සමහරට ඒකට හරි බලමුකෝ හොඳේ මම පුළුවන් වුණොත් ඔයාලට මැසේජ් එකක් තියන්නම් මල්ලි හොඳේ